Strength in Leos.
What's up, guys? I hope everybody's having a great day today. I am your host, Evan Wooldridge, and you're listening to Strength in Leos, specifically the Uncovering Sasobek series. Welcome. I put a surprise drop on you guys. It didn't even say that this was going up. I know for anybody who watched the promo video, you guys saw that it was going to be released in February. I didn't say a specific day, and I waited pretty much until the last day of February to let this all go. So thank you guys for listening to this. I hope you guys really enjoy what we put together throughout this series with Matt. And I really appreciate all the support and excitement that you guys have stirred up for this series. And I'm really excited for you guys all to really listen and see what this whole series is all about. I really don't have much to say in terms of an intro for this series. You just have to make sure to listen to these episodes episodically. But yeah, make sure to listen to these episodes in order, how they were recorded and how they're released. That's the best way to go about listening to this series and making sure you're not missing anything in terms of information or things that we talked about or were talking about and mentioning in previous episodes. For this episode of the podcast, our Patreon shout out goes out to Shane Kelly. Thanks, Shane, for supporting the podcast. If you'd like to support the podcast, join us on Patreon for exclusive content. For anybody who is on Patreon, they've already listened to some of these episodes. So for anybody who wants to join in on that and also help support the podcast, that would be great. Join us on Patreon at patreon.com/strengthinleos. And before we go on, I want to say thank you to our sponsors. The Blessed Gecko over the last 5 years has acquired an incredible variety of geckos from some of the top genetics available. In the past, they have maintained all animals within their own collection as holdbacks, as they have taken time to observe genetic pairings, dispositions, sizes, coloration, patterning, and etc. Go check them out on Facebook and Instagram, and of course go check out what they have available for sale. Impeccable Gecko is a small to mid-sized, family-operated, hobbyist breeder operation. They specialize in leopard geckos with high-quality genetics. At Impeccable Gecko, integrity and animal welfare is above all else. Miles Schwartz works with some awesome morphs and lines that are not only high quality, but also fairly rare in the hobby. Go check out their social media and awesome YouTube channel. John Scarborough of Gecko Boa Reptiles has kept and bred more than 80 species of reptiles, and his focus has turned to specializing within the genus Eublepharis. He has worked hard to pioneer some of the most cutting-edge leopard geckos while maintaining genetic purity and honesty. Go check out their website for their most up-to-date availability, and don't forget to follow all of their social media. Suburban Geckos is operated by Chris Charlton. Chris's passion and enjoyment for herpetoculture, and more specifically leopard geckos, drove the desire to take his hobby to the next level. Suburban Geckos treats every animal with the utmost care and respect, and cut no corners when it comes to the health and integrity of their geckos. Suburban Geckos is a strong supporter of the Strength in Leos podcast, so follow them on social media and check out what they have available for sale. Grove Geckos is a family-owned and oriented medium-scale leopard gecko business. Lance Musgrove is a hobbyist breeder with the goal of producing healthy, visually stunning, and refined genetics for their geckos. They can be found online at grovegeckos.com or on social media like Facebook and Instagram. Give them a follow and reach out to Lance at any time. Spotty-tailed Geckos is a small hobbyist breeder that focuses on quality genetics and maintaining excellent husbandry. Andy got started in the hobby when his daughter wanted a pet leopard gecko. He immediately fell in love with the animals and the hobby. Andy started breeding his first leopard geckos in 2015. To this day, he keeps a very small collection sourced from top-tier breeders. Cenozoic Reptilia works with an array of morphs, such as white and yellows, max snows, red stripes, rainbow stripes, various lines of tangerines, clown crosses, and so much more. As they continue to integrate themselves within the community, they look forward to continuously producing greatness. The mission is none other to give back, which is also why they give 15% of their proceeds to charitywater.org and promise to give more as they continue to grow. Go check out Cenozoic Reptilia on social media, and don't forget to check what they have available. How's it going, Matt?
Pretty good. How about you?
Not too bad. Excited to give the people finally what they've been waiting for pretty much almost a year. Well, they haven't known for it for that long, but it's been a long time waiting for them to finally get into these episodes.
Absolutely. And it's been awesome working with you over the past year to get all this stuff recorded and get it all done.
Definitely. For me, it's a dream come true. Started watching you on YouTube. You basically taught me all the genetics and how to breed and all that stuff. So everything is pretty much coming full circle, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is, and it's pretty awesome that a year ago I did not think that I would be in the position that I am, getting back into leopard geckos and breeding again. And I definitely can thank you for definitely opening up my eyes to get back into doing this and actually probably reigniting my fire to work with leopard geckos again.
Well, thanks, man. It's pretty crazy. We're like inspiring each other pretty much. And how all this went, and it's awesome to hear that I kind of rekindled that fire and that passion that you had for leopard geckos, which is where it all started.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the beginning and how we all even got started and pretty much here together on this podcast platform. So a year ago, what position were you in, and what really kind of was your mindset of, okay, you reached out to me, that was the first thing, and then I said, yeah, of course I'd have you on, and then like the first episode came on, what were you initially expecting when that all happened?
It's kind of a weird story actually, because of I would spend a lot of time in the car driving back and forth to visit my son, and it's about an hour and a half. So I would listen to podcasts, and I stumbled upon yours after seeing a couple of my friends be on it, and I listened to quite a few episodes over the past few months before I reached out to you. And I just thought of reaching out to you and seeing if you wanted to listen to any of my stories or anything like that, and see if anything I could offer to the podcast. And that got us into the first episode. And the first episode, at the time, I didn't really have a whole lot of leopard geckos left. There was probably like 15 or so. I was working with a bunch of other different animals and stuff, and yeah, just kind of wanted to, talk with you and see kind of where it went. And one episode turned into what the viewers are going to hear going forward.
Yeah, and it's crazy how, again, this just all unraveled itself. And it's almost like we were kind of put in each other's lives at a really crazy time, and how everything just aligned to produce this journey, really, that we've been on over the past year, and seeing the growth. And both of us as people, as breeders, and just what that means to what we're bringing to the reptile hobby. Like I said before, like nothing like this has ever been done before, and for this to be happening on Strength in Leos is pretty cool. But also from your standpoint, this is kind of your return and kind of the Sasobek 2.0 that you're presenting to the world, which is also pretty cool from your standpoint.
Absolutely, and it's going to definitely tell a lot more viewers the real story of how things happened and what things were all about back in Sasobek 1.0, if how we kind of say it, and kind of go through the good times and the bad times, the beginning and the end. And after doing that with you, it was very, very therapeutic, to not only be okay with how things ended the first time, and to be able to kind of come back from that and what I wanted that to look like if I did come back. And through the whole process, it was a comeback, to the point where I have a lot more leopard geckos now, and I'm actually getting eggs, and we'll see where it goes. And it's like we tell everybody, grow slow, and that's kind of what I'm doing. Kind of slow for my standards, but it's still a very cool process. And it's definitely rekindled some of my old friendships with certain people, and I'm able to talk with them a little bit more now. And it's a very cool thing. And I miss being part of something bigger than myself, and being able to just chat with people about geckos, and kind of building those relationships with other people that are really into the same thing that you are.
100%. So Going through this series and kind of now that we're at the end, even though this is the first episode, we kind of do things a little bit backwards. But through this whole series, what has this meant for you? Like you mentioned that it was kind of therapeutic to kind of talk about what happened, and then now your rekindling of this passion. But in general, like what has this series meant to you and how you've been able to kind of bounce back from the things that have happened in the past?
It's meant a lot in a lot of aspects. Probably the biggest one is, being able to kind of organize everything in my brain as far as like being okay with everything that has happened. And in kind of going forward from it, learning from it. It was, there was quite a few years where I felt very, just embarrassed by the whole situation, I guess. And I think after people get to hear this podcast and even the first like couple episodes, they can kind of begin to understand what all happened and see why I needed to take a break and kind of get away from it for a little bit. And then as we kind of go through the series, it does tell about the beginning and it tells about point whenever the collection was really a great collection and kind of the struggles that came along with that as well. There's a lot of different dynamics to the whole podcast, and all the episodes that we recorded that I think can be beneficial to a lot of people on a lot of different levels, and probably something that not too many people would even think about. I guess it's more about like personal life situations than it is about breeding leopard geckos. And there's many great things that I got to do because I was a leopard gecko breeder, and there was a lot of things that happened because of it. And I'm grateful for the ride, but that's definitely what it was, a ride, that there was ups, downs, and sideways. So hopefully this will give the listeners a little bit of insight to the whole story.
And I think throughout the episodes, you could really see that progression. And even as you kind of talk from the beginning and how we go on and we change certain things, like you weren't even wanting to get back into leopard geckos when we first started this, and then now you already dropping eggs and having a collection again and all of that. It's really amazing to see that progression over time and seeing that it's all pretty much captured on this podcast and throughout the series, which is also really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that will be interesting even to re-listen to the first episodes for myself and kind of listen to the progression. And it probably should be kind of cool for the listeners to hear that same thing, that they're going to get, all of the episodes within, a few weeks. But literally, it was a progression of about a year that we got to capture on tape for everybody.
Exactly, and we're discussing this we're talking about the personal journey through you, and also realizing that it's not just with you, but throughout many breeders in the present and then also in the past, where it's not just Sass Sobek. There's a person behind that. There's Matt Bronick behind that. There's your family. All the moving parts that go along with not just you as a leopard gecko breeder, but then also your personal life, which is something that we talked about throughout the podcast, but also aside that not a lot of people knew from say the YouTube days or like just you posting pictures on Facebook, which is cool for people to kind of get that in-depth part of you, which is not really seen a lot.
Absolutely. And hopefully, there's enough information there for people to really see the behind the scenes stuff of everything as I was going through it. And the kind of us diving into it for like this comeback that I'm doing. And it's I don't, not really trying to take over the world or anything like that. It's just getting back into doing something that I really enjoyed and producing awesome animals.
Now I want to ask you, no one has really listened to this, like the full extent of what we're about to release. The people listening now are going to hear this pretty much over the progression of a few weeks, all the episodes that we've done. So you kind of not knowing what people are going to say, I have no idea what people are going to say. But what do you hope that people get from this and hearing more about you and your story?
Well, hopefully, like we can get some people to listen to all of it because it's going to be a lot. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that's going to be kind of the craziest part is it's going to take everybody a while to go through it. And I know that there,
Probably even listen multiple times to some of these episodes.
yeah, exactly, because there's so
Yeah.
much to go through. But I hope people enjoy it. I hope people are definitely entertained by the thing. I hope they pick up some knowledge from it. I hope they, have a clearer view of me as a person, along with a clearer view of what happened. Because whenever I kind of just left, I didn't really explain a whole lot to anyone. It was just kind of poof, I'm gone. And I think this will give people that actually listen to the whole thing a little bit more insight about the struggles and everything that kind of happened and all the moving parts and stuff like that. And hopefully we captured a lot of or enough of that to really portray everything to a good extent.
Yeah, because again, we cover just so much ground within this year. It's crazy to really think again to like we were just starting and it was first, okay, let's do one episode, and then it came to, okay, let's do like a two-parter. And then after that it just evolved and evolved into what we're doing now. And I really hope that people understand the full extent and kind of what we're aiming to give out to people on this podcast. It's not just really to just put you on a pedestal and be like the king is back, even though like we joke around and like saying that stuff, but you're really here to kind of give a different perspective into what you're doing. And you've said before that this time around you're going to do things a lot differently than how you've done things before.
Absolutely. And, I definitely don't want to give off that perception, especially right off the bat that, this is going to be just about me and, um, you know, trying to promote myself or anything like that. And hopefully I think after everybody's listened to all of it, they'll kind of realize that, that's definitely not what this is about. And, we might joke about it and, kind of give it the parallel to like The Last Dance with Michael Jordan and stuff like that. But, I think it's a lot of history and it's a lot of things that, especially new people that are in the hobby, like didn't even know happened back in the day. I mean, I'm sure that, you as a younger person in college, probably weren't even knew about any of this stuff, like, because you were so young at that point. I mean,
Right.
we covered probably about 14 years worth of, leopard gecko history. So, that's a long time for a lot of people, especially newer people that are, coming into the hobby. Like probably a lot of the stuff that we talked about, like people wouldn't even know happened. So, hopefully it'll be great for recording history and, having that to listen to later on down the road, kind of like a little snapshot of time of a specific leopard gecko breeder that was in the hobby at that time.
Exactly. And like you said, when this was happening, I was so young, like 2007, I was 4. So I would have had no idea like what any of this stuff is. So it's like crazy to even like think that far back. And like to you, when you were like in that, like that's what it was. And that was a time. So hearing the history aspect of it from that far back, it's really crazy. And even to realize there was history before that, even before you came in, there was so much work that's already been done. And then you say the names of those people who did that work. And then also going forward into now and things that are going on now, you really give a better perspective into what was happening, what has happened from even way before a lot of people even knew things were going on in the hobby.
Absolutely. And yeah, first off, thanks for making me feel really old right now. But yeah, it's a crazy story, and yeah, like like we say through the whole thing, I was just a snapshot of time in the leopard gecko hobby. There were people before me, and I pay homage to those people in this podcast. There's going to be people after me. And it's one of those things where you need to recognize the history of a specific topic before you can really evolve the topic even more. And if you want to be a big contributor to it, you should have a great understanding of the people that came before you to get the hobby to where it has been at at the present time that you are getting into it, to make it even better. And I hope that the hobby progresses as we go forward. I know there's a lot of legislation out there to try to take certain animals away from us, and eventually that could be leopard geckos. And if we don't do the right things now to be able to keep our ability to keep these animals, there might be a day that we can no longer even keep them. So and then all that history will definitely be lost at that point. But hopefully with your help, Evan, we can not only keep the history of all of this stuff, but keep a good base going forward to make sure that we can always keep these animals.
Exactly, and that's what this podcast is all about. It's about the strength and Leo's, literally. It's the name of the podcast, and we hope that not just like the time that I spent with you, but also like this series could set as a precedent for some of the amazing stuff that could happen when we come together as a community and hear each other out, even when, people make mistakes and things like that. And even lead the way for other people to do the same, like there's so much history, not only in leopard geckos, but the history of herpetoculture in general. And hopefully we could capture that history and then also share it to as many people as possible.
Absolutely. And I think you have, the perfect opportunity to be able to, capture a lot of that history. And I think we did in, this multi-part series that lot of other, species specific things have never been able to capture. I mean, a lot of the pioneers of a lot of species have never done anything like this. And I think that's really awesome that we were able to do it with leopard geckos. And like I said, like there was people before me, and I kind of touch on, what they did for the hobby a little bit as well in this multi-part series. But you look at some of the other, big species that are kept in captivity, whether it be bearded dragons or ball pythons or even green tree pythons, or, anything that is very super specific. The major players have never really done something like this, that it's a big history lesson in what has happened over the years. And I think that's really cool that we can kind of say that, leopard geckos now have that in some aspects. And, there's always more stuff that can be added to this, but hopefully this will open up the door for that to happen. And not only with, leopard geckos, but, through this podcast, we talk about the diversification of knowledge and, keeping different things. And I think people should definitely look into that as well, because the more species you can keep, you never know what kind of tips and tricks you can pick up to make the keeping of your main species that you keep even better. And I always will, hope that people will diversify and, try new species here or there that they, have never tried before, just to see, how it is. And maybe they might like it and they might become the foremost authority of that species, because they enjoy it so much. And that's what this hobby needs. It's not about, just keeping ball pythons or keeping bearded dragons or leopard geckos or cresteds. Like, they should always be looking to diversify to this more obscure species that no one really keeps, and, making people more aware of those species, because, there's thousands of reptile species out there. And, I think we mainly just focus on a very, very select few, which that's not a bad thing either. But, if we could get some of these more experienced hobbyists and keepers to start working with some of the more obscure stuff and make them more popular. That just adds to everything. Because a lot of these species can be kept in captivity very, very easily and reproduced, and some even have some mutations. And the more we work with them, the more popular they usually become. And I think the more species we can do that with, and the more mainstream we can make reptile keeping, the longer it'll definitely stick around, because people that keep things and care about things, they want to make more people aware of them and want to keep them.
Exactly. And what you just said right there was pure gold, and there's so much more work to be done. This is honestly just the tip of the iceberg. And like I said before, hopefully this could be just a starting point to so much more to come and so many more great things in the future. And then hopefully, this isn't just the last part. Or your last appearance on the podcast, like you just do the series and then dip. Now that you're back into leopard geckos, hopefully, we could get you on the as a guest in the future, and we could continue doing some great episodes.
Absolutely, and I'd love to be on as much as you want me on, and even if we do like round tables or question and answer things, like I'm always down for helping out other people with getting things, whether it be information or really building up the hobby again. I think that's really important.
Yeah, that's definitely a super important part of the hobby. So for anybody listening to the podcast, we're actually gonna drop the first audio from the first ever podcast that Matt and I ever did. We're basically just gonna play the audio from how basically this even all happened. Our discussion, pretty much live of what we all did and how this all fell into place. So I hope you enjoy this audio right quick. Awesome. So it's up to you, but do you want to do part two right now or schedule it for a later time?
It's totally up to you. We could do it now, or I mean, I'm free pretty much most of the weekend, I think. So it's totally up to you.
If you want to do it tomorrow, we could just pick up tomorrow and then just go straight back into part two.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
All right, cool. Well,
Yeah,
I thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it. I think it'll give a lot of people some great perspective and help a lot of people out in some of the stuff that they're dealing with too.
Oh, absolutely. And it's one of those things that, heck, like how many hours did we go there? Two, maybe 2.5. You might even make
Yeah,
2 parts out of that one.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly. Might as well have a post Michael Jordan how they had the Last Dance series have a 10-part
yeah,
episode.
like it's funny you said that, because like I was thinking about that. I was like, it could really be like this long ass series, like, and depending on how crazy you want to get into it, I mean, there's some other stories that I was thinking about, like, putting out there, and like, that were more personal stories, and almost making it like this holy shit, like Tiger King bullshit.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that we could definitely talk about it. I know that like the my younger years, there was definitely some times there where I wasn't doing stuff that I should have been doing, and so that could be an interesting side note of like where it all got started and how it actually happened, because in almost could be a positive thing for kids that they're doing the wrong thing, and there's always a way that you can kind of escape it and make something out of yourself. But that's totally up to you. If you want to get like kind of crazy Last Dance Tiger King type of thing, we could definitely do it.
Heck yeah, man. That would be freaking awesome to have that, especially in this type of platform. I don't think anything like that has really been done before.
No, absolutely. And it's yeah, because so the real reason why I went into the army was because whenever I was in high school, I was working at that pet store like I had mentioned.
Yeah.
And I was working there for probably 2 or 3 years. I was actually one of the managers, and I was only like 19. And I it it was an interesting situation where my mom had kicked me out of the house at 19, and I was living on my own and wasn't really. It kind of was a depression stage again, and instead of turning to drugs, I was spending money as my escape and my kind of feel good type of thing. And working at a pet store, you don't make that much freaking money. Um,
Yeah.
and what I ended up doing was I was actually scalping money from the pet store. And eventually I got caught, and I actually got fired from my high school job that I loved on 9/11, like the actual 9/11 day.
Man. Wow.
And so 9/11 has this like really weird like kind of tie in to my life. And it was really weird because whenever I went to the military, which was like shortly after that, because basically I could have either like I got in more trouble after I got caught stealing, because what had happened was my mom basically paid the pet store what they thought that I had stolen. And because she did that, they didn't press charges. And then I was getting in trouble like other ways where like that my girlfriend at the time, like I caught her cheating on me, and I tried punching the guy in the face. I still think that I missed. And because he was in a car, and he was in the driver's side seat, and I kind of swung in with my left hand to try to punch him. And I'm pretty sure I still hit like the back of the seat. But anyway, like he pressed charges on me, and I got like simple assault and harassment, and had to be on probation for like 2 years or something like that. It was craziness. Like
Wow.
I actually thought that I was just going to go to court and get like a slap on the wrist for like trying to punch this kid, and I ended up getting simple assault and harassment. I had like $1,000 in fines, community service, like 2 years on probation, and it was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
And
that's crazy.
legitimately, I kind of stayed in my hometown. It's like a really small hometown, and I got in trouble again in my small town. And basically, even if I would have pled not guilty, like I still would have went to jail because I was on probation and got in trouble. So basically it was, you can either go to the army or go to jail. And I was like, I'll take the army, please. so
Yeah.
so yeah, literally I went to the army, and my first day of basic training, they put us in this like this barracks, and in the middle of the barracks on the floor is a thing called a kill zone, where you're not allowed to walk on it, and it's a mural. And the mural was actually of the Twin Towers. And it just kind of tied into that whole 9/11 thing. And it was just like, well, this is the real reason why, I'm supposed to be here. You know what I mean? Like, and get out of my, small hometown, and, and then kind of from there, I never looked back. And that led into the living in the barracks and wanting to get an animal, and that led into leopard geckos. So it all weirdly kind of ties into itself. And it just kind of goes to show, like, everything that happens for a reason, type of deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I at this point in my life, I actually wouldn't be opposed to like telling that crazy ass story, like for the public to hear. Like nobody really knows about that. And it's been like 22 years or something. So it's, at this point, it's like, it's not going to affect me at all or anything like that. So
Yeah. And also be cool because even like with the whole podcast thing, I've noticed like, and even what you did with your YouTube stuff is I'm kind of like documenting like all of the stuff that's happening, staying up with Morph's history, and just talking to people and hearing their stories. So it's not more of me like doing content creation, but I'm just kind of capturing almost history as it's happening in some of the past, which is something that I really enjoy doing. And I think that would give a lot of people perspective, and not just for other people, but for you. Like if you wanted to come back to this 20, 30 years from now, you always have kind of this part of your life that's almost captured in this audio platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things that I don't think most people talk about, like how they got started, really. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, how certain events in their life got them to do what they're doing. So it's definitely an interesting dynamic to it as well, where, if you could get more people to do that, and, I think it could really bridge like certain people like together and make them more like human, you know what I mean? And it's not like just a business. There's
Yeah.
a lot to it. And I think that's, definitely kind of what like, and I kind of said it jokingly, but like, the Tiger King and The Last Dance really did was like, it put like a much more like human spin on both things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
matter how crazy it was, like it was more of like this human story,
You
and
could
like,
resonate with some part of it. Like no matter who you are or where you're from, it's always something that you could go and like, oh wow, now I know how Jordan felt this way when he was doing this, or how someone made this decision. You could resonate with it.
yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like the backstory filler of, you know, what really happened, and it's
Yeah.
I definitely think that that's a very interesting, cool spin on things for sure.
Yeah, and I think just in leopard geckos, there's always everybody always has sort of a front of what they want the public to perceive. Like we talk about certain people and kind of how they portray themselves, especially on social media. You could show whatever you want. You could focus in on this one specific part of something, but no one really sees kind of the bigger picture of everything. And I think that bigger picture really puts certain things together and gives a lot of people kind of the fuller thing of what's happening and everything that a lot of people are really interested in, and a lot of people again could resonate to within the leopard gecko community. So I hope you guys enjoyed that quick snippet of just how this all happened. You just heard the audio of exactly Matt and I's conversation of how we recorded this whole series. Matt, for anybody who definitely wants to learn more about your story and then a little bit more about your information and what you're doing now in the hobby, you're definitely still active on your social media and such. So where could they all follow you for that information?
Well, I still have the YouTube channel, even though I haven't posted in a while. Maybe we can change that a little bit later. I think it's Sasobek Reptiles. And then Instagram, I think it's just Sasobek. And then Facebook, the business page is Sasobek Reptiles. For people that try to like friend me on Facebook, my personal one, I usually don't like friend people back unless I know people. It's just like a safety thing that I do. So if you ever need to get a hold of me, usually the business page or Instagram is probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Yeah, we don't want to have a stalker problem with people stalking Matt.
Yeah.
Exactly. So before you leave, we do this with all our guests, and we haven't done this with you, but we're gonna do our quick fire questions with you
Oh, the,
if
the,
that's
the,
okay,
the
right quick.
coffee and tea and the night person or morning person. All right.
Well, we can't give you those questions. You
Oh,
already.
okay. I was all prepared for those. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna rapid fire these out real quick.
We'll start off easy, and then we'll go harder. How about that?
Okay, all right, all right.
Okay.
And I don't know like what questions he's gonna be asking me, so like he's never even brought these up yet. So
No,
let's
I
and stomach.
totally caught Matt off guard just for that. Okay, so you ready?
Yep, let's do this.
Okay. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Um, it's actually changed over my life. Like I used to be a night owl, like big time. We used to like go out and party and come home at 3 o'clock in the morning and stuff like that. Now I'm usually up at like 6:30, having my coffee and getting my day started. But as we're recording this, I have a hockey game at 9:40, 9:50 at night, so I won't be to bed until like 12:30 tonight.
Okay, awesome. So, do you like to text people or call people?
Both actually. Texting is good, but whenever it's those long drives in the car, I like to call people and talk to them. You get more information back and forth. So actually both.
Okay. Winter or summer?
Summer for sure. Like I live up in the Northeast, and we just went through most of winter already, and winter kind of sucks. Like I would be happy to move to Florida.
Wouldn't we all? So this is fast food question. McDonald's or Burger King?
Ooh, McDonald's or Burger King? You're not gonna throw Wendy's in there, because then we can make it really interesting.
Okay. Well, might as
Okay.
well. Might as well.
Okay. Well, and I have done this, and don't judge me, but like I've done this. So
Okay.
you go to Wendy's and you get spicy chicken sandwiches there, and then
Okay.
McDonald's and you get the fries there. And since McDonald's has dollar like drinks right now, like you get the drink there too. You can be like economical and you get what you want.
You got it all planned out.
Oh, absolutely, man, absolutely.
Okay. For going on a walk, do you like to go to the mountains or the beach?
Definitely the beach, I would say. I'm not one to like sit out in the sun forever. But because I'm like pale, so like I burn because I'm a lot Irish. But yeah, definitely the beach is where I'd rather be.
Okay. Sweet or salty?
Oh God. Probably depends on the food, but probably sweet.
Okay. Coke or Pepsi?
Actually, probably unsweetened iced tea. Neither one.
Interesting. Okay. I did not expect that at all. Okay. Okay. Animal question.
Plus,
Panda.
plus, plus Coke or Pepsi
Okay.
doesn't pay the bills, so
Oh, that's true. Okay. Pandas or whales?
pandas or whales? What type of whale?
Fill in the blank.
See,
Which,
I'm stumping you now. I'm
yeah.
gonna go with for the majority whales. Just because like I've got to work with beluga whales. They're super smart, really cool. The one that I used to work at the facility that we had there, it was very, very people oriented, which was really, really cool. Um, but pandas are cool too. I've just never really worked with them. I've
Okay.
worked with red pandas though, and red
Those are
pandas,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
red pandas are cool.
Okay, now I know you're a big music rap guy, so favorite rap artist and favorite rap album.
Definitely Eminem. And
Okay.
um, favorite Eminem album though would have to be, I would say the Eminem Show. That was probably the best one in my opinion. But I like so many of them. So
Okay. Interesting. All right. So last question. Favorite leopard gecko morph of all time?
favorite leopard gecko morph of all time. Um, oh, and you didn't do the whole like dominant recessive, all
No,
that
just
fun.
going straight for it.
All right, let's go with oh, I like so many of them. It's so hard. Um, and we're talking one gene too. So
Yeah.
we got to go with the marble eye then, just because like I found it basically and proved it out. But I like so many different mutations. I like a lot of the dominant snows so that you can't produce a super. I like a lot of the polygenetic stuff. Probably the polygenetics that are actually one of my more favorite things to work with, I would say. Um, so to produce like all kinds of different crazy looking stuff. White and yellow was definitely a fan favorite of mine as well, just because I got to do so much cool stuff with that right off the bat. Yeah, so I would say like as far as dominant recessive or like recessive stuff, it would be the marble eye. Dominant would be the white and yellow and the dominant snows without a super. And then polygenetic stuff, I love color. So any of the lavender or like jungly oranges and stuff like that.
Okay, awesome. Well, Matt, I can't thank you enough for, doing this series with me. I really enjoy getting to know you a little bit more, just picking your brain from all the knowledge you have in over the years. It's really just been an amazing experience.
Absolutely, man. It's been so fun to make this with you, and I hope we can collaborate in the future a lot. And you're always considered a friend of mine, man.
I appreciate it so much. So, any last words for the people? Anything, any words of warning to give before they listen to the rest of the series?
Have a lot of time because it's going to take a while, but
Yeah,
I hope everybody enjoys it. We definitely put a lot of work into it, and it's definitely the truth. I don't sugarcoat anything. There's everything from the demise to life as a rock star in there, and a lot of history stuff. My past with Alberto and how he really helped me out getting into this, and definitely an homage to him. He's been a great friend my whole life, and he's always been there for me. And yeah, I just hope you guys really, really enjoy the episodes to come. And always reach out to us with questions, and maybe we'll answer your questions at the end of all this.
definitely, definitely. So again, Matt, I appreciate you more than I could ever tell you for doing this, and we'll see you on the next one.
Well, thank you so much, man, and we'll let the people decide how it goes.
Exactly. All right. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
And that's the first intro for this series. I want to thank Matt for coming on and just helping to explain a little bit of our idea of how this got created. This, again, is just an intro. So make sure to listen to the rest of the episodes that come out after this, which hopefully you guys will like as well. Don't forget to share with a friend, rate our podcast, and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Strength and Leos. And last but not least, tune in next time for our next episode on Spotify, iTunes, Google Music, and our website, strengthandleos.com. This is your host, Evan Wooldridge, signing off. Continue to grow in knowledge and share the strength in Leos.